There is a farm in Virginia that fed an entire community for generations. They grew their own food, raised their own animals, made their own fertilizer, and controlled their own pests. They never ordered feed from a company. They never bought a bag of synthetic fertilizer. They never called an exterminator. The system worked so well that it ran for nearly 2 centuries on nothing but land, animals, and a rotation schedule that took about 30 minutes to explain. That system is sitting in Thomas Jefferson's farm records right now. Anyone can read it. The Library of Congress has it. Agricultural historians have studied it. And yet almost nobody does it today. Because somewhere between 1970 and 1990, a series of zoning regulations quietly made most versions of this system illegal in suburban and semi-rural areas across the country. Today, I'm going to walk you through exactly how it worked, the animals, the rotation, the logic behind it, and why the people who sell you feed, fertilizer, and pest control would very much prefer you never found out about it. Before I get into the full system, I want to mention quickly, if you're serious about building a truly self-sufficient homestead, I wrote an entire book on this called The Self-Sufficient Backyard. Everything we're talking about today, plus dozens of systems I can't fit into a single video. Water independence, food preservation, off-grid energy, year-round growing. It's all in there in step-by-step practical detail. Link is in the description. Thousands of homesteaders are already using it. Grab your copy, and then let's get into this rotation system. The Jefferson used to feed an entire community for 2 centuries. Before we get into the system itself, you need to understand the problem it was solving. Because it's the same problem you're facing right now. Small farm operators in America today spend an average of $8,000 a year on external inputs. Feed, fertilizer, pesticides, herbicides, $8,000. For a lot of homesteaders, that's not self-sufficiency. That's just farming with extra steps and a bigger grocery bill. Colonial farmers didn't have that problem. Not because life was simpler, or because they didn't understand economics, but because they understood something about animals and land that modern agriculture spent 100 years teaching us to forget. Animals are not just food. They are infrastructure. A chicken is not just eggs and meat. A chicken is a pest control system, a fertilizer factory, and a soil aeration machine that runs on kitchen scraps. A pig is not just bacon. A pig is a rototiller, a composter, and a clearing crew that works for slop. A cow is not just dairy and beef. A cow is a pasture management system that turns grass into the richest fertilizer on earth. When Jefferson was running Monticello, he wasn't thinking about his animals as separate departments. He was running them as a single integrated machine. Every animal had a job. Every job fed the next part of the system. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was purchased that the land could produce. That's the closed loop. And once you see how it works, you'll never look at your homestead the same way again. Let's start with chickens, because they're the first layer of the rotation and the most misunderstood animal in modern homesteading. Most people treat chickens like they treat dogs. They have a coop, they have a run, the chickens stay in it, and every morning you go buy them feed. That's not how Jefferson used chickens. That's not how any serious colonial farmer used chickens. That is a modern invention designed to make you buy feed. Here's what chickens actually do when you let them work. You move chickens through your garden beds on a rotation schedule. After you harvest a bed, after your tomatoes are done, after your beans are finished, after whatever crop has completed its cycle, you let the chickens in. For 2 to 3 weeks, those chickens scratch through every inch of that bed. They eat every insect. They eat every larvae. They eat the weed seeds sitting on the surface of the soil. They scratch up the root systems of weeds you'd otherwise spend hours pulling by hand. And the entire time they're doing this, they're depositing nitrogen-rich fertilizer directly into the soil. By the time those chickens leave that bed, it has been pest controlled, weed reduced, scratch aerated, and fertilized. For free. Using animals that also give you eggs. Jefferson's records document this specifically. His garden manager, Edmund Bacon, kept detailed notes on how poultry moved through the kitchen garden at Monticello. This is not folklore. This is documented agricultural practice. Now, here's the key to making this work. You need portable fencing. The colonial system used simple woven branch fencing, what they called wattle fencing, to redirect chickens into specific beds at specific times. Today, you'd use chicken wire and T-posts. The investment is about $40 and 2 hours of your Saturday. The payoff is that you stop buying pest control and you dramatically reduce your fertilizer needs. One thing to understand about chicken manure in this system. Fresh chicken manure is high in nitrogen, but it will burn plants if applied directly. The rotation system handles this automatically. By the time you replant a bed, the chickens have cleared. The manure has had time to begin breaking down in the soil. The rotation schedule is also a composting schedule. The system solves its own problems. Pigs are the most underestimated animal in homesteading and also the most regulated, which is not a coincidence. Here's what a pig can do that no machine and no amount of human labor can replicate cheaply. A pig will clear an overgrown plot. It will root up invasive plants, eat the roots, turn the soil, and deposit manure as it works. An area that would take you days of backbreaking work with a mattock and a wheelbarrow, 2 pigs will clear in a week while feeding themselves on what they find. In the Jefferson system, and in the broader colonial farming tradition documented across Virginia and Massachusetts farm records, pigs were used specifically to prepare new ground. You didn't hire labor to break new soil. You ran pigs on it. But the more important function of pigs in a closed-loop system is composting. Colonial farm families didn't throw anything away. Kitchen scraps, spoiled vegetables, garden waste, the bedding from other animal stalls. All of it went to the pigs. Pigs eat almost anything organic. What they can't digest passes through them and becomes fertilizer. What they can digest becomes pork. You are turning waste into meat and fertilizer simultaneously. That is the closed loop working perfectly. The specific rotation in the Jefferson system moved pigs through areas after the initial chicken pass. Chickens would work a bed or a fallow section first, taking the surface insects and seeds. Then pigs would come through for deeper work, root disruption, soil turning, deeper fertilization. By the time pigs left an area, it was ready for either planting or for the final refinement pass that cattle provided on larger sections. Now, here's where the regulations come in. In most suburban zones and many semi-rural zones established after 1970, keeping pigs is either outright prohibited or requires minimum acreage that effectively excludes small homesteaders. The justification given is odor and sanitation. The effect is that the single most powerful land clearing and composting animal in traditional farming is unavailable to the people who most need it. You are then required to buy a rototiller. You are required to buy compost. You are required to buy the services that the pig provided for free. If you are in a zone that allows pigs, even seasonally, that is an asset most homesteaders are not taking advantage of. If you're not in such a zone, the chicken and cattle elements of this system still function independently, but understand that the pig was the keystone of the colonial closed loop. Quick pause here, because what I just described with the pig rotation is actually one of the most requested chapters in the self-sufficient backyard. A lot of homesteaders know they want pigs but have no idea how to integrate them without creating chaos on their property. The book walks you through the exact setup: fencing, timing, what to feed them from your existing system so you're not buying commercial feed. If that's the piece you've been missing, the link is in the description. Now, let's talk about the third animal in this system, and this one is responsible for building your soil permanently. Cattle are the long game. You don't move cattle through garden beds. You move them through pasture sections on a rotation that Jefferson described as dividing his fields into what he called quarters. One section is being grazed. One is resting and recovering. One is being prepared for crop rotation. One is producing hay or cover crops to feed the system through winter. This is called managed rotational grazing, and it is one of the most well-documented soil-building practices in agricultural history. Modern regenerative agriculture has essentially rediscovered it and rebranded it. Jefferson was doing it 200 years ago because it was common knowledge among serious farmers. Here's why it matters for soil specifically. Cattle manure contains different nutrients than chicken or pig manure. It's lower in nitrogen, higher in certain minerals, and, crucially, it comes with large volumes of organic matter that build soil structure over time. When cattle graze a section, rest it, and you then till in their deposits before planting, you are building topsoil, not depleting it, building it. The colonial system Jefferson ran at Monticello produced increasingly fertile land over decades because the animal rotation was constantly adding organic matter faster than crops were removing nutrients. That is the opposite of what modern commodity agriculture does to soil. The practical element for homesteaders today, even 2 or 3 cattle on a few acres, managed on a simple 4-section rotation, can eliminate your fertilizer purchases within 2 to 3 seasons. The startup cost is fencing, and Jefferson's fencing was wooden rails cut from his own timber. The ongoing cost is essentially zero if you have adequate pasture. Here's how the full 3-animal system runs as a single machine. Early spring. Chickens go through beds that have been resting over winter. They clear insect eggs, scratch the surface, deposit nitrogen. 2 to 3 weeks per bed. Then they move out. Late spring, you plant into those prepped beds. Chickens are now rotating through the beds you finished harvesting in fall, the ones that have been resting and will come into production in summer. Pigs are working on any new ground you want to bring into production next year. They're also receiving your kitchen and garden waste daily. They are composting and clearing simultaneously. Fall. As beds finish their production, chickens rotate back through them. Pig-cleared new ground gets a cover crop, winter rye, clover, whatever fits your climate, to hold the soil and fix nitrogen before spring planting. Throughout, cattle are on their 4-section pasture rotation, producing manure that gets composted or direct applied to the sections not currently in production. The result is that your external input needs drop to near zero within about 3 years of running the system consistently. Your soil improves every year instead of degrading. Your pest pressure drops substantially. Your fertilizer cost approaches zero. This is what Jefferson documented. This is what worked for generations. And this is the system that became inconvenient for an agricultural industry built on selling you inputs. Let's be precise about the regulations, because this is important and the details matter. There is no single federal law that bans integrated farming. What happened between roughly 1970 and 1995 is that local and county zoning codes were updated across the country, often with pressure from agricultural industry lobbyists, in ways that effectively dismantled the legal framework for small integrated farms. Minimum acreage requirements for livestock were raised. Setback requirements, how far animals must be kept from property lines and structures, made small-scale integration impractical. Nuisance ordinances gave neighbors legal tools to shut down animal operations in semi-rural areas that had historically supported them. The net effect: if you bought 5 acres in 1995 within 30 miles of a mid-sized American city, there is a very high probability that running even a modest version of this system violates your county code. The first thing you should do is pull your county's zoning ordinance and look up the specific regulations for your parcel. Many homesteaders are sitting on land where the regulations are less restrictive than they assume, or where variances are available. Some states have been rolling back the most restrictive codes under right-to-farm pressures in the last decade. Know your actual legal situation before you assume the system is unavailable to you. Thomas Jefferson was not a mythological figure. He was a working farmer who kept detailed records because he was trying to solve the same problem you're trying to solve. How do you produce food without being dependent on systems outside your control? The answer he documented, and that generations of American farmers practiced, is that you build a closed loop. You use animals not as a separate expense, but as working parts of a single integrated system. You let the chicken do the pest control. You let the pig do the clearing and composting. You let the cattle build your soil. The system is not magic. It requires planning. It requires the right fencing. It requires you to learn the rotation schedule and stick to it through a couple of seasons while the soil responds. But it works. It worked for 200 years on American land before anyone decided that buying feed and fertilizer from a company was a better idea. Check your zoning. Start with chickens if that's all your situation allows. Add layers as your land and regulations permit, and understand that the goal, a farm that produces its own fertility, controls its own pests, and feeds its own animals, is not a fantasy. It's a documented historical reality that was working long before anyone needed to sell you a bag of feed to make it happen.